Good morning. Good morning to you too, and welcome to this first panel session of today here at the GCCM in London. So again, a very warm welcome as well to my my fellow panelists. So that's Nikki, and that's Vladimir, Scott, and of course Edwin van Nierland here. We're going to talk about the messaging market today and tomorrow, capitalizing on the API. Now, we discussed this topic over and over and over again here at Care Community, and some people say, well, you know what, yeah, but it's boring. No, it's not boring, because every day new things happen. And if we saw what happened after the announcement of Twitter, I think some people in the messaging market scratched behind their ears and thought, hey, what's going on there? So it is still actual, it's still valid to discuss this topic, and I can do this only with the senior experts around the table here, live and virtually. So the session is thankfully sponsored by Bankai. So Nikki, I give you the first minute to introduce yourself, and then the rest of the panelists. So Nikki, over to you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. So just to start with, I'll just give a brief about Bankai Group, which has been investing into telecom products, telecom solutions, voice messaging, as well as producing technology pertaining to telecom industry, fintech companies, and banking institutions. Couple of announcements which I would like to make. That now we just acquired one of the core banking solution companies in India, which is Acute Informatics, which has installations in more than 100 banking institutions across India. And in addition to that, as we are talking about messaging, we are now exclusive gateway to TogoCell network in Africa, where we will be managing the complete firewall and turnkey solution, as well as aggregating the international traffic for them. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much, Nikki. And let's move immediately to Vladimir. Vladimir, welcome.
Yes, hello everyone. Good morning. So my name is Vladimir Smal. I'm head of sales and procurement at Lang Telecom. To give you a brief of what we are doing, Lang Telecom is a global international wholesale carrier or aggregator, specializing in voice and messaging, obviously SMS predominantly, but not only. We are also very much focused on anti-fraud solutions, mobile services, numbering services, and other value-added services in telecom. Over the past 7 years, we have been providing anti-fraud services to our customers in voice, which proved to be very efficient and very successful. So knowing the issues and challenges that we are all going to discuss moving forward, we have started to develop anti-fraud solutions for SMS around 1.5 years ago. And of course, our major focus is on generated traffic.
Thank you so much, Vladimir. Scott?
Hi everyone. My name's Scott Warner. I'm the Director of Emerging Services for S&BTS. S&BTS is a joint venture between SoftBank Japan and BTS. We are in this quite unique position between a mobile operator, a wholesale business, and enterprise. So we provide messaging, voice, numbering, as well as some additional new products in the mobile identity space for enterprises all over the world.
Thank you and welcome. And of course, Mr. van Nierland, good morning to you.
Thank you, Eric. My name is Edwin van Nierland. I'm the CEO of iBasis, Voice and Mobile Data. Now, as you all know, 5 years ago, we started an adventure with Alexander Peberot to become completely independent. And it was a long journey. We finished our 7th acquisition recently, and that was the acquisition of Dimoco Messaging out of Vienna, which, let's say, enriched our portfolio significantly. So everybody knows us from the traditional voice, mobile data. Now we're also entering the world of global messaging, enterprise messaging, in fact, and also IoT. And let's say more to come.
And thank you for being here. Warm welcome, and again, congratulations on your latest acquisition of Democo Messaging. So, so you see, ladies and gentlemen, that a full stack of senior experts here around the table, live and virtually. So, again, welcome to the session. Nikki, if I may start with you, the messaging landscape. I mean, things are happening. We mentioned this, or I mentioned this in my intro already. For you, what are the trends and the key concerns facing the traditional SMS market? And maybe you can bridge this as well to what are the challenges and opportunities we see around us.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to start with the positive stuff that is happening in the A2P messaging market. Is that the global A2P messaging market is still valued roughly around $65 billion annually, and it is expected to grow. And by 2025, we are seeing to reach it to $70 billion. But when we speak about the total messaging market, majority of the portion is domestic messaging, and a very small part of that is into international messaging that we're talking about. Now, the challenges that we as an industry face, definitely what you brought up earlier, the message from Elon Musk on the Twitter, the generated traffic that we're talking about, that is one of the challenges. But that challenge, we need to understand how we are getting that challenge in place and what are the things we can actually do as an organization and as an industry to stop such practices. Yes, eliminating it 100% might not be possible in the near future, but what we can do to stop such practices. So what we have basically understood is, the amount of deals and the amount of, let's say, projections given to the operators, the MNOs, of increasing the messaging traffic year on year, the commitments of firewall deals, that is something which needs to be really, revalued or re-understood by all the MNOs. I mean, all the companies who are aggregating traffic and committing values, especially, making advance payments, committing, traffic, and then there are shortfalls, which are also, leading to price increases. Because if we see, almost every destination that we are talking about in the messaging market has seen a price increase in past year and a half, or maybe past couple of years. And that is something which has actually hampered or, created a challenge for all the companies to, of seeing this market being, recently developed so much, which is not correct for the industry, especially the generated market.
Thank you, Edwin.
It's of course quite remarkable that somebody out of the industry is, let's say, waking us up. That the remark of Elon Musk about debt accounts is now, let's say, waking up the industry and apparently now recognizing what we all know already: trashing SMS traffic, bots, all kinds of other, let's say, tools to, let's say, generate revenue, which is not real revenue. So it's quite remarkable that somebody outside the industry is doing that. And let's say, I think it's also an eye-opener for us. Let's say what we did with voice, about voice generated traffic, that we really should, let's say, take actions against what's now going on. If you see price levels going up to 15 cents or 20 cents to deliver a message in a country, you can debate what kind of commitments you see in the market at this moment, and what kind of repercussions it will have for, let's say, doing clean business. Let's say for iBasis, it's now a matter of, we are not an aggregator. We are, let's say, simply trading the business as we do with voice. And let's say we are more, let's say, entertained to step into the monetization part of business. Let's say providing a service whereby we provide a full concept of a managed firewall, let's say, with decent commitments to the market and not crazy commitments to the market, what we see. We have been successful in Claro Ecuador. We have been successful in other parts of the world. And that is, I think, the only way going forward. And I'm interested to hear what my colleagues think about that, about, let's say, the start of a revolution or the start of an evolution to make the business significantly more cleaner than it is right now.
Okay, thank you, Scott. You want to bump in?
Yeah, I think what Edwin mentioned, it's funny that, well, whatever Elon Musk says hits the newspapers anyway. He can talk about anything. But as an industry, you know, if you've been dealing with these enterprises over the past 10 years, and these enterprises have been talking about this topic, so it's not a new issue, this traffic generation. I think we've been a little bit complacent with the fact that we're so dominated by one use case. When you think about one-time password and how A2P SMS basically became a one-time password business, I think that complacency over use case creativity, if we want to put it that way, has led down this street where we have one use case that pays all of our bills, and that use case now is being questioned, and that's where the fraud occurs when you have a use case that's built around security, but then we're slowly realizing is full of fraudulent activity. That's a problem, and that's what enterprises are saying to us. And we're helping enterprises to try and find what are the alternative solutions. That might be these mobile identity or what's the word, silent authentication, all sorts of different. But I look at it from a messaging perspective and think, actually, SMS is still a pretty cool channel. This is still a ubiquitous channel. This still breaks all of the fragmentation of messaging apps and all of this stuff. This is still the single way to contact every mobile phone on the planet. There must be other things we can do with it than one-time password. So I think that we need to, as messaging people, we need to start looking at, what is the value in a message?
No, okay, thank you. Before we go and ask for comments from the audience, yes, I will. You'll have to participate here. Vladimir, please, over to you. What do you see in the messaging? What's the messaging landscape for you? What do you see? What are the trends and what are the challenges which we just discussed? But maybe you see also other challenges.
Well, yeah, I do agree that there's the challenge of fraud is quite significant to the market, and it's actually now questionable what Nikki mentioned about the growth of the revenue. Like, what is the main driver for this growth? Is it real traffic or is it like a generated traffic? There is an estimation by MEF that nearly 20% of all international SMS traffic is now actually generated. It's not real. Now, Elon Musk, he mentioned like 360 or 160, don't remember for sure, operators doing this, and he mentioned, okay, if it's no less than 10%, we are fine with that, but don't make it, don't make it unreasonably big. Don't make it too big. So everybody wants to do business here, but it shouldn't replace the original use case that SMS is being used for. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, of course, the increasing rates, which Nikki also mentioned. We see it as, of course, it's very much tied up with the increased number of fraud cases, because as long as the rates are higher, there is more and more interest from fraudsters to get in and to take their part of the pie. We have on our side done some analysis on the connection of rates to the number of fraud cases, and what we have seen is that, like, if we talk about the rates below 5 cents, so there is a really minor number of fraud cases happening, like AGTM, mean generated traffic, is like less than 5%. But when we come up from 8 to 15 cents, then the 70% of all cases are happening in this price range. And in terms of revenue, it will be even more. So obviously, high rates is not good to the markets. I do agree with the approach that Edwin just mentioned, that rates should be reasonable. The monetization itself is not a bad thing, but it should be we should understand. I mean, we should all agree, or we should teach operators, and we explain them what would the very high rates lead to. So another thing that we see is that as the rates are coming up, there is more and more interest from the customers in alternative solutions. And I should also mention voice as a channel which is stepping into the picture now, as voice OTP is becoming more and more on demand right now from the customers, because obviously a voice channel as SMS channel, it's as ubiquitous as an SMS channel. Of course, there are some difficulties from the customer experience perspective. The conversion rates not as high as SMS, but if it's reasonably more reasonable in terms of rates, then we see that the customers are ready to and interested to go into this kind of solution. So from my perspective, if nothing changed, there will be more and more let's say, use of alternative channels. So they will grow rapidly, more rapidly than SMS. So if we really want SMS to be and stay as one of the key omni-channel key channels in the omni-channel, we need to all think and try to act in order to stop what is happening.
Okay, thank you, Vladimir. Now, I'm just quickly looking at the audience, and what is your opinion? Maybe Nick. I mean, I know you're always my favorite victim, and as the founder of Mobile Squared, what is your take on it? Where do you think we're going? I mean, you have the helicopter view globally. Sorry to throw you in front of the lions, but you know me.
I'm here to make notes.
And they are happy. They're laughing, you know. Why? Because you got the mic and not them.
I think it's a pivotal year for SMS. Personally, I think it's going to go one or two ways. So it's either going to go back to kind of pre-pandemic world, where you're going to have 3, 4, 5% growth, maybe year on year for a while, before it'll then kind of flatline, plateau, and then start to drop as rich messaging finally takes off. I'm not giving a prediction on rich messaging here. But beyond that, you know, I mean, that's based on if we keep doing the practices that we're kind of applying right now in terms of the high prices, the AIT, because obviously Twitter have raised the issue, Facebook are looking at it, and if Facebook go, you know, then you're going to have a big trickle down impact on other businesses. The major brands will start moving out a lot quicker than maybe they kind of plan to. And other brands will start going, well, if Facebook and other companies aren't using it, why should we? And they will all look at alternatives, and gradually there'll be a new business model coming in that will basically kind of create this kind of authenticity. You know, we all mentioned mobile identity, etc., but things are coming. So, but if we start to kind of nurture SMS, which is kind of what happened after the first couple of lockdowns, and all of a sudden businesses were like, oh, okay, SMS is actually quite a useful tool.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and it was growing. It was organically growing. You know, we probably tracked about an extra 2 million businesses globally started using it. So you got some really strong growth. But now it's just been abused, you know, so it's kind of, AIT's always been there, but it's just been kind of under the radar. Now all of a sudden it's kind of a pelican in terms of dipping in with its big beak, scooping up as much as it can and then flying off. And that's kind of what we're seeing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think the next 12 months are going to be pivotal, as I said, for the long-term future of SMS.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Nick. Thank you for
I think we are highlighting now more or less the negative part of SMS. Let's face reality. Let's say the fact that this old technique is bringing still huge revenue and huge margin, and that it is, let's say, combining old and new technique going forward. And we didn't talk about the API, let's say.
Not yet.
Okay, then you're
next on the list.
Then you can ask that question. But if you see what that will bring to the business customers, how it will improve the efficiency, how it will improve potential also the security and other elements, and grow it from there, I think that goes hand in hand with the current state of let's say the business. Flash calling, we can look at from a negative perspective. You can also look at from a positive perspective. How can we monetize it? And that is something what MNOs needs to realize, that you can block it, but can you also find solutions for it? And that is the positive side of this business. There is still the fact that two-factor authentication gave a significant boost to the traffic. I think that was a welcome, let's say, revenue stream for all the parties who stepped into SMS. And if I looked at Capacity Middle East last week or 2 weeks ago, it was amazing to see how many SMS parties popped up and were completely squared in a separate room, let's say, apparently, let's say, to benefit from the business everybody's seeing.
Oh, thank you. Scott, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think the comment when it comes to looking at the cost of SMS, and I think I know there's maybe this is one for later as well. When you look at the commercial models that are available, and you look at the way potentially operators are pricing SMS, it seems that there's a lack of understanding of what is the elasticity of demand for the product. What's the return of investment opportunity? We see now that there's many markets that are getting up towards 20 cents, maybe even over 20 cents. And when we talk about other use cases outside of two-factor authentication, it becomes tricky when the market is so unstable as well. I think it's not about just the levels of those rates, it's the unpredictability of it. And when you talk to the big enterprises, that really concerns them. So when it comes to, creating new use cases, new sort of creative uses of SMS as a channel, it becomes really difficult when there's the pricing is just so unpredictable. Who knows where we're going to be in 12 months?
But are the enterprises not saying, get your act together? I don't know how you do it, but just do it and come up with a solid offer for me, because you want me to use you? Fine, then get your act together, or not?
Yeah, I think there's two parts of this, because everyone wants to blame the aggregators in the middle. I've spent 10 years at different aggregators, so I'm the one being blamed in the middle.
It's him.
And what the reality is, the enterprise, and when you look at the big enterprises, they're part to blame for the entire ecosystem falling down, because there was, it was basically creating a free-for-all model of like throwing a bone amongst the dogs and let everyone fight and see who wins. And so I think it's, and then it creates the opportunity where the aggregators then go, okay, well, if I can't control the demand side, I'll go to the supply side and work with operators and go that way.
All right, Nikki, want to bump in here?
Yes, I mean, I agree with what Scott said. I mean, that is something, just to give you an example of different big enterprises or OTTs throwing up their bid offers when it, if you understand the market is, or the actual pricing of that termination is roughly around 7 cents, but you are demanding a price which is way below what it is. So it gives an opportunity, to people to play with what the messages are coming in, and actually utilize your traffic in some different form, which is in the longer run is going to affect the brand, the MNO's image in terms of the traffic. And yes, so that is something which needs to be taken care of as well, because when we have been speaking to operators and MNOs in Africa, we have been part of more than 35 bids when we talk about firewall exclusivity and firewall management. But however, we had to back off in almost all of them, because the amount of commitment that is being asked for is insane. And we actually went only 1 out of 35. It's not that we were technically qualified, everything was perfect, but the commercial value, the commercial model, that really doesn't make sense to actually put in risk a lot of amount and go ahead with any firewall exclusivity deal by committing almost 80% or 100% of traffic increase just within a span of a year or two. Yes, if it's Africa, to some countries like in East or North Africa, where the digital penetration is very low, around 25 to 30%, it is still understandable that you are predicting a growth of 15 to 20% year on year. But in the mature markets, it's quite impossible to do that actually.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Okay, Edwin, you were mentioning the APIs already, so let us go into this. How and what can we expect from utilizing APIs in correlation to the new services on demand?
Again, I think it's a tooling which is already there for quite a while, and that in combination with SMS, it will give a significant new opportunity, let's say, to the business and enterprise customers, let's say, to reach their audience significantly faster than in the old-fashioned way. So efficiency will be there. Let's say you can have targeted approaches which you can customize via APIs, which are significantly better. But also what you already said, mobile identity and other, let's say, security elements you can add, let's say, to protect yourself going forward. So let's say the tooling on itself is very powerful. Let's say that in combination, let's say with the aggregation and let's say decent termination of the SMS traffic is still possible. So absolutely, is it controlled? There are marketplaces. Let's say there are parties stepping in the development of APIs, scalability, future-proofing, everything which is applicable for APIs is there at this moment. So I see it as a positive trend going forward, and definitely a tooling, let's say, to boost the traffic or boost the revenues as such.
To have it in the toolbox.
Yep.
Absolutely. Vlad?
Yeah. Well, I think APIs is enterprises to have more flexibility over how they can actually communicate with their customers, with their end users. So that it gives a choice for them to do it over OTT channel, over messaging channel, over voice channel, or over any other channel. So they can really see which one is more effective, which one works better for their specific use case, where their customers want to communicate with them, in which channel, because it's not always SMS, and it could be even email for some use cases, might be more the choice for the customers. So I think that's definitely a good case.
Okay, thank you. Scott, quick one.
Yeah, I think what Vlad mentioned, he's touched on the kind of omni-channel services, this really like creating a suite of products, and APIs can enable enterprises to kind of pick and mix a little bit. So yeah, I think the future is creating a real suite of complementary products that enterprises can then use depending on exactly what their use cases and demands are. And I think, creating that in the simplest possible form, I guess, is the key.
Okay. Moving on, guys, because we still have a couple of topics to do, and we're running out of time as always. My mistake. So sorry for that. But bear with us and stay with us, please. Edwin, you announced beginning of the year an acquisition of the Moco messaging. So not talking about, let's say, the organic growth, but also on the inorganic growth. Do you think that the business models are changing more and more and even rapidly? And then are the new partnership models coming soon? And maybe you can tip a little bit on the M&A. What can you share with us there? What was, let's say, your initial thought to do again your 7th acquisition?
That's a good question. Let's say I cannot disclose, let's say, the future ambitions of iBasis, but definitely what you see in the market, and just a good comparison is what did we see recently? Recently, we saw a lot of layoffs in many of the omni-channel companies. Simply, they had to make profit. And let's say the traditional business, and yeah, I consider iBasis as, let's say, one of the independent voice carriers, stepping into the world of mobile data, stepping into the world of global messaging. Let's say being healthy, top line revenue growing, margin positive, cash flow positive, EBITDA positive. On the downside, you see 30% layoff in left and right. And I'm not going to mention the companies, but everybody is aware that there is something going on in omnichannel world where, let's say, the money making is not there at this moment. Interesting enough, let's say, indeed, all the investors approach us. Let's say other parties are knocking on our door. Let's say the complexity in the market is increasing. If you just take the example of OBR rating in the voice environment, it's a nightmare for many partners because they cannot facilitate, let's say, the automation and the tooling for the pricing mechanism. And that is what we kept on doing. Interesting enough, after 5 years, we are still there. Many parties thought, iBasis, it's a one-night fly, we will go bankrupt. That is not a sustainable model going forward. Now, I can tell you the crazy Alexander and our investors, and we as investors as well as G5, we believe in the concept going forward. Organic growth is still there. Yeah, if you can speed it up with simple acquisitions and also add inorganic growth elements, and it fits in the culture of the company, then we will definitely do that. And that's also what we did with Dimoco messaging. Within a very short period of time, we created one face to the customers at the Mobile World Congress. Let's say we integrated the reporting, we integrated, let's say, the financial P&L. And of course, now we have to make choices. Where can we achieve the synergies? Is it in the platform choice? Is it in the feature choice going forward? Surprisingly, yeah, I'm managing now more than 40 different cultures around the world. There is no Dutch culture, there is no French culture, there is no American culture. It is an omni-channel, an omni-culture going on in the company, which is quite interesting. And it's quite also a very steep learning experience for me to manage that going forward. And again, let's say whoever is available as a targeted area for the future to grow even faster, we will definitely take that opportunity to do that.
Okay, so Nick, maybe for you, I mean, I know respectively, I mean, Bankim, your CEO, invested in studios, in media, in what have you lately. So I know that. So on from your point of view and the Bankai Group point of view, organic versus inorganic growth, where do you have your strategy? What's out there? I mean, as Edwin mentioned, you know, a lot of even stock exchange listed, let's say, messaging companies, because they, you know, the investors, as from February 2022, they took their money a little bit out of the market, out of tech in general. I know this. I'm an M&A. So that's what they did. And now it's like, okay, how good are we? How solvable are we? How, you know, do we bring the profits? No. So, okay, you get immediately something on your nose by saying, okay, here's the reality check. And having, of course, iBasis as a neutral and an independent non-public company, of course, you had the right strategy in the right time. So absolutely that. But coming back to you, Nick, because I know that Bankai Group is growing and growing. Where do you see the, let's say, the combination of the organic and the inorganic growth strategy coming together? What is, let's say, your vision on the market?
Okay, so you know, as you started you know, explaining about Bankai Group, that we have been growing in other domains as well. You know, we have been trying to get into media and entertainment business, where we are producing movies, web series, you know, on different OTT platforms in India. And we just acquired one of the small FMCG ventures in India as well, where we are going to produce more than 200 different products related to, you know, day-to-day consumer durables. But yes, the organic, I mean, this is something which we are diversifying on different fields, which we have never done in the past. But at the same time, on organic side of the telecom business, it is still growing if it is done, you know, correctly. That is what we see. We are not, I mean, as Edwin mentioned, that the omni-channel platform companies are laying off employees. I mean, they are not able to sustain the cost because the customer acquisition cost is very, very high for them. And at the same time, the revenues coming in and the margins coming in doesn't justify. If we see most of the companies, they are still not ready or prepared to be a positive EBITDA organization in coming near future. And that is not something where we think our focus should be as an organization. We are 100% profitable and a positive EBITDA organization, and we strive to go ahead in the same direction by working more towards with MNOs, with banking institutions, and trying to integrate a platform where we can bring in all together, make the communication affordability across the market, especially into Africa. And yes, so that is what I would like to say on the planning for Bankai.
Okay, thank you. Vlad or Scott, you want to bump in here quickly?
Well, for us, I would say it's mostly always organic growth rather than acquisitions. We invest a lot in our people, in the right management, in educating the people within the company, and growing organically. And so far, it pays off.
Okay. Again, as Edwin said, the human asset is as important as the, let's say, the normal asset, right? So, okay. Thinking, what do I want to know? What do you want to know? Huh? You don't want to know anything? Okay. Well, I tell you. The thing is, and maybe Edwin, I can start with you. Scoping a little bit the future, and I know we go quite fast, but that's what these panel sessions are. There are 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and we have to do with it. So, and I always want to tackle at least a couple of parts of our business, so that the audience, things we can share with the audience and say, and they are updated. So, I wouldn't say glass ball prediction, but scoping a bit the future. Well, what do you think we can expect, especially because what Nick said from Mobile Squared, the coming 12 months will show us where we will sort of go. And I'm not talking about only on the pricing and whatever, and these kind of, but where do you think, what can we expect in the near future? Is it possible to say or to predict?
Now, for sure, I will retire at some stage. That's for sure. And let's say that's now
Both of us, by the way.
That's a little bit postponed due to the pandemic and other topics. But let's face reality. Let's say when the pandemic started, we were, let's say, forced to use new technology, and we embraced technology very rapidly. And that became the new normal. And let's say that new normal is still applicable. However, if you look at, let's say, the crazy amount of attendees at events, then you think, okay, is the new normal the new normal? Yeah, you see it over here. We have a hybrid model whereby we talk with each other, physically present, and people remotely there as well. And indeed, I think that the technology will evolve. And in which direction? Let's say the good part is that the old, let's say, technology of voice, global termination, quality, pricing, customer service, customer intimacy, that will remain. Without that, without human interaction, I don't believe that there will be a sustainable model, revenue model going forward. That is, I think, still one of the core assets we bring to the market. And I think 25 years ago, when I was still working for KPN, and I did the reverse acquisition with iBasis, and people said, voice is dead, we are going to do a smart exit. I think they were all wrong. 2023, we're still there. And we still transport 40 to 50 million minutes per day across the world in a variety of use cases. So yeah, what will the future bring? I think the future will bring, let's say, it's inevitable that new technology will use, let's say, the old legacy technology at the same time. And that unique combination will be there. Will there be at some stage an omni-channel partnership with say a legacy a voice carrier or an SMS carrier or a mobile data carrier? I don't know, but I think everything is possible. I don't think in limitations, to be quite honest.
Okay, cool. Unified services as a, huh? Anyway, Scott, your future.
I love coming to these events and you see new companies. Every time I go to an event, there's companies that I've never seen before that are popping up. And I think that shows the health of the market and the health of the industry, that there's always new businesses. There's just an infinite amount of positioning and opportunity within this market. When you look at where you want to be on the value chain, what features different companies are offering, what regions, we have many regional specialists, what verticals they're working in. Are you providing it for the finance sector? Are you providing it for e-commerce? And then the kind of use case based stuff. So I'm really excited about, and we are actually excited about the omni-channel and how omni-channel can be used for conversational commerce. I think conversational commerce is still at its infancy, but I'm really excited to see how businesses begin to integrate this properly, and I'm excited about that as a consumer as well. So I think we're in a really healthy position as as an industry. Yeah, there's still opportunity for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Vlad, what's your take on the future?
Yeah, I think that the future for messaging as an industry is pretty bright. I mean, there is a lot we can do in here, and I think the future depends a lot on how we act as an industry. I mean, if we talk back about SMS, of course, I mean, will the customers use this as this channel or not, and how much will they use depends on how we treat and what we do with the challenges that are here today, the rates, fraud, etc., etc. But the opportunity is here, and the messaging will evolve. I'm also very excited to see what it will bring, and I think it's very important to educate our customers, simplify everything as much as possible, as Scott already mentioned. So the use of any channel really depends on how simple it is, how user-friendly it is, and of course viable commercial models. So depending on that, we will see what channel will take more better part of the market and which will not. So, but in altogether, I'm very excited, and I think that the future is pretty bright.
Okay, you're using the old orange logo, the future is bright.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yes, I do. I've been there a long time ago, with Proud, by the way. All right, Nikki, please, we're eager to hear your closing statement. How does the future look, man? Tell us, enlighten us. Come on.
Yeah, so I agree with Vlad that the future, yes, it does look bright, but when we talk about the upcoming 1 year or 2 years, the good part is that now everyone knows that whatever practices there have been going in industry, they are being talked about, and each and every carrier or aggregator or MNO is being monitored by their partners directly or indirectly, and you have to come out of it clean, and you have to make sure you provide right kind of services, you serve your customers, enterprises well, and give no chance to actually make sure that you are monitoring your stuff correctly, putting in right fraud management practices, revenue assurance practices to ensure that the brand value stays for the organizations, and this channel, people prefer keep using you for a long period of time rather than just looking into the short-term opportunities and short-term money-making machines. That's it.
Thank you so much, Nikki. So with those words, ladies and gentlemen, we came to the end of this, so you can have your coffee again. But we would like to thank you dearly, because we do it for you, and thank you for joining this session. And Nick, thank you so much for your helicopter view of the market and what to expect maybe in the coming 12 months. So let's see what's moving on. But we can say, and we can conclude that messaging is it's moving. There are things going on, money to be made in a right way. Yeah, I think that we're actually in a good spot. That's what I think. So I would like to thank Vladimir. Thank you so much. My regards to Alexei and Nikki with regards to Bankim. Thank you so much. And thank you, Bankai Group, for sponsoring this session. Scott, and of course, regards to Ricardo. And well, the CEO is sitting next to me here anyway. So Edwin, my regards to Edwin. Thank you so much. I know you've been traveling around the world for the last already. I mean, it's 3 months this year, right? How many weeks have you been home? 1 this year? Too little. Okay. So, but thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Have a nice coffee, and hey, don't forget we have another sessions and more sessions coming up here at the GCCM.